And welcome everyone. This is another episode of the Mind Sculptors gameplay series. I am your host, Callahan, and we got a great game lined up for you all today. Before we get into it, I just want to thank you for joining us this week. If you like this episode or any of our other episodes, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. If you want access to our Discord server, as well as some extra content, make sure to head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/themindsculptors or check out the link in the description. Today, we are going to be having a pretty cool game. We've got Chris, the Commander Mechanic, and Eliot from the Spike Feeders going to be playing against Cobblepott and Fenix. Joining me today to commentate over this and kind of tell Fenix exactly why his deck is incorrect is my good friend Sickrobot from Into the North. Sick, it's been a couple weeks. How's it going?
It's going pretty great. I'm back in the bowl.
Yeah.
Hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. I missed you. It was a little weird doing it with Pongo and Spleen, but you know what?
Yeah. You know, if I knew you were going to allow Morgan to do color commentary, I don't know if I ever would have come back, but you know what? Just for you.
Fair enough. You know, I think he did a fine job. Not as good as you, but you know. He did all right.
Well, nobody could, right? Yeah.
Well, we are very fortunate to have gotten some games in with Eliot from the Spike Feeders. Everybody knows those guys. And, of course, Chris from Commander Mechanic. I'm not sure how into the Spike Feeders community you are, but it's kind of this running joke that Alex from the Spike Feeders and Chris from Commander Mechanic are actually the same person. Their voice is like identical. So we might.
You know what? Has anybody ever seen them in the same room?
I don't think so. We've had them. I've played games with both of them, but not with face cams. So who knows?
See, it could just all be pre-recorded.
Exactly.
You never know.
Who knows?
Yep.
So, but they are coming in. They've got some interesting stuff going on. But believe it or not, we're going to start off here with Eliot's list. He is playing Timna Thrasios, and he's kind of playing what I would probably call the more, like, normal of all of these lists, believe it or not. He is playing kind of a, almost a, this is pretty much a consultation sort of scepter deck. But it's being a little bit more stacksy, which I'm all about. So break this list down and kind of tell us what it's trying to do for us, Reed.
Sure. So this is sort of in the long line of Staxy Timna Thrasios. There are a lot of ideas here that, while not original, are still spicy, and I love to see. There's sort of like a bunch of packages that have been tried out over the years that this deck is sort of looking to dig into a bit. So, I mean, the primary one here is Seaborn Muse is a broken card, the package.
Correct.
Seaborn Muse is a broken card, the package. Great movie name, which is basically just a bunch of big dorks and Seaborn Muse, which I can't fault at all. I love that package. I think it's entirely too good. We also got a bit of spice here and stuff like Great Arbiter in the main deck. I'm always a fan. Ludvala, while not as great now, I think, still is fantastic. And, of course, taking advantage of new asymmetrical hate bears. Hull Breacher, good old opposition agent. I hate it, but gotta call it out. The old guard of Aven Mind Sensor, bringing up the rear on those three. Never thought I'd say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's sort of just looking to do some stacksy stuff with creatures. Obviously take advantage of the fact that it's not actually doing artifact stuff, so you get to play Null Rod, and then just get there with Jace. Pretty much. You also have a Thassa's Oracle, but, you know, just doing slower consult stuff.
Yeah. Now, it is very interesting because it is clearly trying to break parity with the Seaborn Muse, but it's also playing Seaborn Muse 2 Electric Boogaloo and Wilderness Reclamation in the enchantment suite.
So that's sort of another spicy one that it's on right now. Do you know what Wilderness Reclamation goes great with?
Niv Mizzet?
No, Stasis.
Correct.
Goes fantastically with Stasis, which coincidentally this list is also on, so there's a lot to love here if you're a fan of Stasios.
This is it is honestly a really cool deck, and honestly probably only something that I could see one of the Spike Feeders playing. I love the decks that they play, and this is honestly one of I mean, it's no secret. I've been talking about it a lot on Twitter. I've been playing it a lot of stacks. I build Lavinia. I've been building Golo's Prison, all of these things. So this deck is right up my alley. I'm really excited to see what this one does. Up next, we've got Chris, the Commander Mechanic, and he's going to be playing. We just talked about this archetype on our podcast this past Monday, but he is going to be playing his own version of a Kodama of the East Tree and Vial Smasher the Fierce deck. This is a little bit different than the decks that Cobblepott, Spleenface, and Phoenix all put together, but it is really interesting and has a lot of very unique things going on. So what is this exactly going to try and do here?
So this is basically what I would call definitely not Togo. Unfortunately, my naming conventions are terrible and everybody hates them, so I'm not in charge of naming this list. But basically what it's looking to do is play a lot of broken black cards that you can't play in Togo Kodama, and then do the Togo Kodama plan, basically. And also some other stuff here. So it's primarily centered around the obvious synergy between Karuz and Kodama. Pretty great in general.
Right.
Making infinite mana as long as you have, an Amulet of Vigor, or making just infinite land drops and killing people. Pretty great as long as you have a Togo out with those. And then also doing some other really neat stuff. Obviously taking advantage of Vial Smasher as well, so playing Keen Sense. Man after my own heart. Love Keen Sense. Love Vial Smasher. Love them together. And then doing some honestly, I'm not sure if I want to spoil the surprise, but doing some nice, absolutely nice manual landfall stuff with Scoot Swarm and Rampaging Bailouts. You love to see it.
You'll love to see it. That's right out of the standard playbook, right?
Oh yeah. Oh no. This is straight out of my mono green Nissa casual EDH playbook. I love those cards.
Every time I see Scoot Swarm, I immediately think of all the videos of people crashing Arena with 80 million insect creatures or whatever. I think it's really funny. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about any games crashing in the event that he can get that going. But one of the more interesting cards in this list that I did see is Ren and 6. And what is Ren and 6 really doing here to kind of add value to this list?
So Ren and 6 is, first of all, really nice at just pinging off dorks as a base case. Just having recurring dork killer is nice, but also being able to buy back Horizon lands is super nice. Being able to buy back stuff if you're sacking a Bajuka Bog, you can get a Bajuka Bog back every turn, which is sort of nuts. Obviously, fetch lands broken in every format with Ren and 6. Also, a spicy one. Not sure if it's going to come into play, but I love to see sacking Emergent Zone to flash stuff into play, and then Ren and 6ing it back and playing it and do it again. And playing your Jund deck at instant speed. That's the good stuff.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this does. I love the brews that Chris comes up with, and they don't call him the Commander Mechanic for nothing. He comes up with some awesome stuff. The spiciest deck at this table, though, I am going to go ahead and call it out right now, is what Phoenix is bringing to the table this week. He's playing Tevesh Zot, which, we've all seen. We've kind of seen some people playing Tevesh Crom, all these different things. Tevesh is really kind of growing in popularity right now, right? Well, the difference is instead of Crom, he picked a different blue X flying partner. He picked a Shy. So what is this list doing? It's doing something really fun, but I don't want to take the joy away from you for telling everybody what it's doing.
So, I mean, it's, I'm going to be honest, it's a completely staple completely staple blue-white blacklist. I see nothing wrong here. It's playing all the staples like Thassa's Oracle, Yawgmoth's Will, Wheels, Git Probe, all the good cantrips, Academy Rector, obviously, because that's just Esper staple. Humility, Necropotence, Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, bunch of good rocks, all that's good stuff. Oh, sorry. Did I skip over that? Sorry. I'll act a bit more shocked. He's playing Humility. Fucking A, dude.
The best part about this, and when he was telling me about this list before they recorded the gameplay for this, he was telling me, he goes, the real reason that you want Humility is because it turns your, what's it called? Your thrall tokens into 1/1s instead of 0/1s.
Certainly does.
So it's infinitely better.
Man, it protects your Teversat actually just so well. It's sort of ridiculous, honestly. Yeah, I sort of fell in love as soon as I saw the Teversat Academy Rector Humility line in this list, because and I don't want to tell Phoenix that he's wrong, but I think not playing green here is wrong, because if I was building this deck, I would have gone all in on just tutoring for Academy Rector as soon as I could, and sacking it to Teversat to get a Humility out. That just seems like the best possible time to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the best possible time for you. The rest of the table, maybe not so much.
No, obviously not. Well, as we all know, fun is a zero-sum game in CDH.
Exactly.
So if I'm having all the fun, that means nobody else can have any.
Right. That's all that matters.
But yeah, I mean, it's doing some pretty spicy stuff. Obviously, the rest of the deck is pretty stapley. There's only so much you can really fit into Esper while still keeping it functional.
Right.
But I'm a pretty big fan of that package. Also, the fact that Ishai gets very large and then under Humility is still very large and tends to beat people to death fairly easily. It's pretty nice. Alice Norn with Humility is awesome as a one-sided board wipe that is persistent and keeps being a board wipe.
Right.
Actually, Layers? No. That doesn't work. Oh, well. Alice Norn's still nice.
It is still nice.
Sick. I'm a fan. And then, yeah, classic consult package here.
Right.
Ad Nau's package, all the good stuff that you expect out of Esper.
Yeah. Well, he was not the only Esper deck at the table. We are also going to get to see here again this week the Timnus Sakashima list that we saw Cobblepott play last week, and he had a lot of success winning both of the games against Play to Win last week. And so, Spleen kind of talked about it. We've kind of seen this list a little bit, but for people who might not have seen that game, what is this Timnus Sakashima list really doing?
So here's the lowdown, right? We all know Adnaz is a good card. We all know Timna's a really good card when you're digging for Adnaz. So what about if you had two Timnas to dig for Adnaz? Sounds pretty good, right? Yeah, it does. So that's basically what this list is doing. It's playing Adnaz. It's playing all of the Adnaz adjacent cards that it can get its filthy little grubby hands on. And it's playing some evasive attacking dudes to draw absolutely absurd numbers of cards off of your commanders. Quite honestly. It's a neat one. It's a cool one. It plays sort of like a farm list typically does. Maybe a bit slower on the fact that you have some counter magic. You're actually playing like a real amount of interaction unlike some other lists.
Right.
But you're certainly looking to get there pretty quickly.
Absolutely. This is a very interesting list, and like we saw, it's a very effective list. We saw it go 2-0 last week against Cam and Dylan, so we'll see exactly what it does this week against the Commander Mechanic and Eliot from the Spike Feeders. So going into the turn order, our turn order here for this game is going first, Chris, who won the die roll. He'll be going first. Second in turn order will be Phoenix. Third will be Cobblepott, and fourth will be Eliot, unfortunately. Now, let's take a quick look at the opening hands. Eliot will start off here. He did keep a 7-card opening hand. His opening 7 was Bloodstained Mire, Tundra, Llanowar Elves, Elves of Deep Shadow, Imperial Seal, Freed from the Real, and Jace, Wielder of Mystery. So if you're sitting here at this 4th spot at the table, you're going last. How do you feel about this opening 7?
So honestly, I'm not sure how happy I am about this. That being said, I am a huge advocate for greedy Tymna hands that only get there off of a turn 2 Tymna into drawing a bunch of cards. So it would be a bit hypocritical of me to say that I wouldn't keep this hand. That being said, you are looking for some stuff to go right here. You have fairly quick access with the Imperial Seal here to Bloom Tender into Freed from the Real, which is sort of nice. So you have a win line sort of accessible there. And obviously, if that doesn't pan out, or if you don't think that Freed from the Real is happening, you can go for your consult and do your Jace stuff. So you do have access to a win here. I think just the only thing that you're a bit afraid of here is not having the interaction for anything. You have pretty much everything else in turn 2 Tymna, reasonably consistent and quick access to win cons, but you're sort of going to be relying on just greeding out and hoping nobody attempts a win.
Right. Well, and, there are a couple, all of these kind of feel fairly slow comparatively. I think Cobblepot's probably the fastest deck at the table. So we'll really kind of see how that goes. Speaking of Cobblepot, he's next up in our turn order. He also kept a 7-card opening hand. His 7 was Mana Crypt, Jeweled Lotus, Marsh Flats, a Snow-Covered Island, Fierce Guardianship, Hull Breacher, and Stone Coil Serpent. So as far as opening hand goes, I would be incorrect. Am I incorrect in seeing this as a turn 1 Tymna Stone Coil Serpent on 2 hand?
I think it's actually a turn 1 Tymna plus Stone Coil Serpent into turn 2 cast Sakashima, draw 4 cards?
That sounds correct.
Sounds not bad, especially when you have a Fierce Guardianship as backup and a Hall Breacher coming down later. Pretty disgusting, not gonna lie. Cobblepot, I hope you feel bad about yourself in this one, but I can't critique you for keeping it.
It is, and one thing to note that I think is very interesting, I just thought about this. The Stone Coil Serpent kind of is similar to a Shy with this Humility, because if the Humility comes down, that Stone Coil Serpent is still a 3/3. Or, excuse me, it's a 4/4.
In fact, it gets larger with a Humility.
Right. So that is one thing to keep an eye on, especially as we look here at Phoenix's opening hand. He did also keep a 7-card hand. Man, everybody has a good 7 here. Somehow. That doesn't happen very often, but here we are. And Phoenix's opening 7 was Diabolic Intent, Watery Grave, Misty Rainforest, Hollowed Fountain, Lotus Petal, Academy Rector, and Elish Norn. So this is kind of possibly the worst possible scenario for the rest of the table, and a pretty good scenario if you're Phoenix, right?
Yeah, I'd say to a certain degree. The issue that I sort of have here is you're not exactly doing anything that quickly, unfortunately enough. You have 3 land drops, a Lotus Petal, and nothing to cast until you get to 4.
Right.
So this hand is really just, very reliant on hitting some amount of fast mana in the next couple of draws. Otherwise, I don't know, this seems like a pretty slow one. Although, if you can stick Academy Rector and then sack it to Diabolic Intent, things can get messy for the rest of the table very quickly.
Absolutely. We'll see how this kind of goes for Phoenix here. As we go into our first player and our last the last hand we're going to look at, who is our first player. This is Chris, the Commander Mechanic. He also kept a 7-card opening hand. Like I said, all 4 players kept a 7-card opening hand. His 7 is Llanowar Wastes, Man Tower, Wooded Foothills, Red Elemental Blast, Temur Sabertooth, and Bajuka Bog. And I guess also Deathrite Shaman. So going first, how do you feel about this opening hand here?
I think it's okay. Quite honestly, I think I probably would have mulliganed down to 6 potentially if I was in Chris's position here. You're really relying on your draws, and neither of your commanders really produce value on their own. So, you're basically just drawing a single card a turn, hoping to hit gas, which, I'm not a huge fan of. That being said, it does have potential, right? You have half a combo in Temur Sabertooth. You have good ramp to get out there with Deathrite Shaman and a couple pieces of interaction with Red Elemental Blast and Bajuka Bog. So you can probably keep yourself alive for a bit here, but you're certainly reliant on getting to your pieces naturally.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see where that goes. Because the one thing that I did think when I was looking at this opening hand is the Deathrite Shaman and the Bajuka Fog feels a little bit like a non-bow. Not entirely, but it does feel a little awkward, given that, usually you want to be hitting things out of other people's graveyards with your Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah.
Well, that was our opening hands, so we're going to take a quick timeout, and we'll be right back on the other side with the start of the game. And welcome everybody back to the Mind Sculptors gameplay series. I'm Callahan, joined again by Sickrobot, and we are going to be dropping into this game. Before we do, any thoughts of what to expect here in this game? Sick?
I'm gonna expect some heavy pressure from Cobblepott, and I'm not sure the rest of the table's gonna be able to keep up, quite honestly. But I mean, we'll see. I hope to God that Phoenix can find fast mana so we can see like a turn 2 humility, because that is all I need to complete my life.
Well, we will see what happens here as we're going to jump over into the gameplay. And so they are going to be starting here, seeing if they have any pregame effects, which we know that they don't. So draw here from Chris. And we'll see what he leads here. Command Tower. And into the Deathrite Shaman. So pretty standard opening hand. You would opening play there, you would say.
Yep. That looks about like a Jund deck.
Go over to Phoenix. We'll see what he drew here. He is shocking in the Watery Grave.
Ooh. Okay. I'm excited.
Playing a Lotus Petal.
I'm excited.
And he's passed.
Okay. All right. You know what? I respect the bluff.
Marsh Flats from Cobblepot. And presume... Oh, he's cracking it before he does anything else, which seems fair.
Fair enough.
And
I mean, you always got to test the waters for the opposition agent here, right?
Right.
Make sure the Phoenix doesn't have Dark Red off agent. Or make sure that if he does, you get it out of the way first, so you know what's coming down. So I would expect to see an Underground Sea fetched here. I think you want... Oh, it's going to be a Scrubland.
Scrubland. I think... I feel like that makes sense just because of the being able to cast the Tymna, right?
Yeah, I feel like you're very likely to draw into more lands. That might be a bit too greedy from my end, but I definitely like having a surplus to blue mana, and you can get your Tymna out anyway, and as well as that fact, your white mana requirements aren't super high anyway right now.
Right.
And just in general in this list. So I feel like if you can sort of count on your Jeweled Lotus here to cast your Tymna, you might not actually be in need of white mana until you can, like, just draw it off your draw 4 next turn.
And there we go. We see the Tymna. We'll see if he plays the rest of it.
There's the Crypt. Oh.
Response to the Tymna from Phoenix.
Phoenix. Oh, my.
Mana draining.
Oh my god. We're going to see a turn 3. We're going to see a turn 3 humility. This is all I've ever wanted.
And, well, that's a lot sadder of a turn from Cobblepott, but he does get
Definitely is
a Stone Coil Serpent on 2.
I just can't get over that we're about to see a turn 3 humility. I'm sorry.
Bloodstainmire here from Eliot. Let's see what he's getting here. And getting a Bayou, which seems about right. Probably correct. Casting the Elves of Deep Shadow, I'd assume.
I would assume here with the Imperial Seal. Yep. Bayou completes your Timid colors with the Tundra in hand. This is just going pretty well. I mean, it's about as well as a Timid deck can go. I guess, unless you have the Jeweled Lotus like Cobblepott does.
Right. Let's see what he's playing. And Llanowar Elves.
Nice.
And passing the turn over back to Chris, who's going to draw for turn. And let's see what Chris here plays. I know he does have the Bloodstained Mire over there. Llanowar Wastes for land for turn. Eating the Marsh Flats from Cobblepott.
Okay.
And he's casting Vial Smasher.
Yes.
Somebody alert Spleen Face.
Definitely not a bad idea here. I'm happy to just put out a Tymna blocker with the absence of another play. I don't think that the Reb is going to be super valuable this turn cycle. People are still going to be theoretically setting up Tymnas / still setting up mana engines. Phoenix doesn't have much aside from the colored mana that you know of, or the colorless rather, from the
right.
drain. So we'll see the Academy Rector presumably.
There's the Academy Rector.
Nice. Unfortunately, just one colorless mana off of casting a Diabolic Intent immediately, so it is a bit vulnerable to exactly Swords to Plowshares, or this Deathrite Shaman untapping, which is a bit unfortunate.
Right.
So we'll have to see how he ends up dealing with that, or if Chris even remembers to hold it up. We'll see. I know a lot of people definitely aren't super experienced with Academy Rector losing to targeted Grave Hate, which is a bit sad in my eyes as a Hulk player, but you know. It happens.
Well, Cobblepott is going to draw for turn, unfortunately, without a Tymna in play. And
yeah,
let's see what he does. He is going after Chris for 2, and that Vial Smasher cannot block.
Stone Coil Serpent, great attacker into pretty much every commander, because who plays monocolor, am I right?
Well, I mean, there are 2 monocolored commanders at the table, to be fair.
This is true. I guess Commander Legends did, in fact, throw a wrench into the Stone Coil Serpent plan, so just attacking through absolutely everything.
Stone Coil is arguably one of the better attackers, well, even just blockers, given the proliferation of Crom right now.
Quite honestly, I believe it's a better blocker than it is an attacker, just because it blocks Crom. It's fantastic. Nobody likes getting hit by Crom.
I'm going to apologize to everybody, by the way, the recording here. It seems that there is the mouse stuck on the screen from when this was recorded, so I apologize about that.
We're professionals here.
Tundra into Elves of Deep Shadow.
I'm surprised that we're not seeing Tymna. Honestly, I would sort of want to get it down as fast as possible. On my end, but I could see an argument for Imperial Sealing here and just trying to get the Bloom Tender down ASAP. But it looks like there might be another spell.
Graph Digger's Cage. That was an unknown card for us.
Thankfully, does not stop the Academy Rector. So I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping Chris taps out so we can see a turn 3 Humility.
And here comes the Imperial Seal. What are you getting from this Imperial Seal if you're Eliot?
I would imagine this is just getting Bloom Tender. You're a lot of blue mana off of Jace, and it's going to be a while until you can find that, I think. So I think you just go for the big mana here and hope that you can stick a Freed from the Real at some point. I
Right.
don't think it's unreasonable to hope for that. Because that presents a turn 4 win. The rest of the table is sort of slowed down aside from Phoenix, but you know that Chris has the counterplay to the Academy Rector on board, so theoretically you can probably get there, as long as Cobble's not doing anything too broken, which assumably he's not. I mean, there's a lot of his hand that's on the table right now, so.
Right. Cards we do still know about in the Chris's hand is Wooded Foothills, Red Elemental Blast, Teamer Sabertooth, and the Bajuka Bog. And then Diabolic Intent, Misty Rainforest, Elish Norn for Phoenix. And Cobble still has the Fierce Guardianship and the Hull Breacher, and that Fierce Guardianship might feel a little awkward right now, because if the Diabolic Intent, when that gets cast, you might want to counter it, but I don't think it might matter, because the Academy Rector is going to trigger regardless.
Already gone, yeah. That being said, it is pretty nice to have just in order to counter Tevesh when that attempts to be cast, because
right.
You really don't want Tevesh coming down with humility in play when it just starts upticking, making blockers for itself, and eventually ulting.
Yeah, it looks like Eliot's passing the turn back over to Chris, who is going to draw for turn. Interested to see here. He's playing Gaia's Cradle as a draw.
That's certainly not a bad one. You're still wanting on gas from the known cards that we know about, but I think for the foreseeable future, your mana problems may be solved.
This could presumably cast Kodama, right?
No, I believe he's 1 mana off here.
Is he? He's 1 mana off.
Yeah.
Okay. Goblin Bombardment.
Goblin Bombardment, not a bad one.
This does take him off of the Deathrite Shaman line, I do believe.
No, so you have the Guy's Cradle still.
Is that a green ability? I can't remember if that's the green one or the black one.
So black takes instant sorceries, green takes creatures. So you're still on Deathrite Shaman to take the Academy Rector in response to its trigger. Okay. As long as you keep it up. And I don't think he will be casting the Teamer Sabertooth because he's still a mana off, so we might see this stopping Academy Rector, which from a playing optimally side of my coin, I'm happy with, but from the I want to see humility in play side of the coin that I'm on, I'm super unhappy with. So split down the middle on that one.
I don't think the table knows about the humility, to be fair.
That is true.
We know about the humility.
That being said, I don't think I'm ever happy to let an Academy Rector trigger resolve in, like, any scenario. So.
And swinging the Academy Rector at Eliot. And he's not blocking with the elf, which seems reasonable.
Unfortunate.
Cracking Misty Rainforest. What do you think you're getting here? Probably a... maybe like a what's the word? Scrubland or something like that. Maybe something else.
I think you're getting an Underground Sea. I don't like getting Scrubland here. Again, you want like a lot of blue mana to hold up in these styles of decks.
Fair enough.
And nobody has proven to have a carpet yet, so I would just continue feeding it. Quite honestly,
seems like, reasonable.
If you think the Imperial Seal went for a carpet, then you probably fetch for something else. But I don't think the Imperial Seal is almost ever going for a carpet here. Yeah, so this
and he is getting under. Yeah. And I'm assuming we're going to see a Diabolic Intent.
That depends on whether or not Phoenix understands the interaction with Deathrite Shaman. I'm going to assume he does, but we'll see. That means if he has removal, that could also be pretty not okay.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah. He grouped 2 lands very temporarily and then ungrouped them. Come on, Phoenix. You can hold on to the Diabolic Intent. No!
Diabolic Intent.
All right, let's see if Chris can see. Well, it's not even Chris, it's the rest of the table as well.
I don't think he sees this, just based on listening to Table Talk.
All right, let's be fair here. Phoenix didn't even put it in his graveyard. He just put it straight into exile.
In Fierce Guardianship on the Diabolic Intent.
Understandable. Yeah, that Academy Director should not be exiled. But I don't think anybody at the table caught it, so. All right. Well, I'm happy that we're seeing a humility here, because that is great. That is fantastic.
So, humility is coming down, and I feel like we're about to see some very sad people.
I would assume so.
And we're just kind of waiting on him to get it, but there it is. Humility.
So have fun, table, with your win cons that require creatures, because you don't get to play those anymore. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not sure how many of these decks can actually win with humility in play. We know for sure the Kadama deck's going to have issues with that, because Kadama is just a bit the focal point of that list.
Right.
Small amount, just only the linchpin of the entire strategy.
Believe it or not, I feel like outside of removal, especially knowing that there is that Jace Wielder of Mysteries in hand, Eliot might be the best position to be able to win through this humility.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue is you somehow have to find 2 more blue mana.
Right.
And we don't know if he actually has any more lands in his hand. And presumably he tutored for, I would assume, a Bloom Tender. So this is going to be rough.
LED from Cobblepot after playing a mana confluence.
So that's 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, can't quite get there. You're 1 mana off of casting Tymna into Sakashima here. Although I guess that doesn't exactly matter with humility in play.
Yeah. The only known card in Cobblepot's hand right now is Hull Breacher.
Which also doesn't do much with the humility.
Yeah, it does not do much.
There's a common theme running through the cards in people's hands right now, is that they tend to not do things while humility is in play.
And there is
Cobblepot
5 mana for a 1/1.
Pass a 1/1 human cleric token.
All right, so Eliot untaps here. I'm presuming he did not go and tutor a land. The only card we really know from him are Freed from the Real and Jace Wielder of Mysteries.
Yep.
So we'll see what he tutored, potentially. It seems like he is talking some stuff over.
Yeah. If you did tutor for the Bloom Tender, I'm going to run on that assumption, because I do think it is the most likely tutor out of this strategy. I mean, potentially it could have been something like an Incubation Druid or something. I think you play it out here just to get it not summoning sick when the humility comes off the board, because it's probably going to at some point, I would assume. Okay, so there's a blue source.
Okay, there it is.
So we just need to find a Consult and another blue source.
Watery Grave tapped.
And another source of mana after that, but it's
baby
fine.
steps.
You have time.
Baby steps.
There's a humility in play. The game's only going to go so fast.
And it looks like he is attacking Phoenix.
Gotta love player removal.
Listening, it sounds like he tutored for a Nature's Claim.
Huh. Look at that foresight.
I think he might have expected the humility, potentially. I'm not sure. It might have also been for the Stonecoil Serpent. But he certainly... There was a tutor there for the... it sounds like he got Nature's Claim.
So, I mean, that is just Eliot being an even larger brain than I could ever fathom. And immediately calling out the hate piece he's going to have to work through to win this game.
Let's see. They might have... I can't remember or not. I think they might have talked pre-game about what each person's decks were doing. But there is a 4-mana Tiber Saber 2, or 4-mana 1/1.
4-mana 1/1 beast.
Yep.
Green beast token.
Yep. Green beast token. Oh my goodness. Humility just makes things so funny.
Oh, it does. It's the blood moon for creatures. It's fantastic.
I've never thought about it that way, but I suppose that is true. And it looks like he is going to be attacking Phoenix for 2, and I think we're going to see a common theme here.
I think Phoenix is in very real danger of being player removal.
Well, let's see what comes down for Phoenix. The only card left in his hand that we are aware of is the Elish Jorn, and that feels very bad here, but Rhystic Study from Phoenix.
I can't imagine this is actually going to draw that many cards, but you sort of just have to play it out.
Yeah. It sounds like there is no response from the table.
Yeah.
He's passing turn, so play Rhystic Study, hope you don't die, right?
Yeah. This game is really now going to be about, I think, jockeying for position on this humility, because, like, people are going to try to keep Phoenix down as much as possible here while advancing their own board positions, and, like, getting Phoenix to... The goal of most people at this table is to get Phoenix to a position where they can kill him, but nobody else can, and then they want to kill him on demand once they're ahead in, like, projected card advantage after the humility comes off the table, right? Or at least in projected board position. I think Eliot's plan here is to sort of avoid that jockeying entirely by establishing a board presence to a certain degree and then slamming Jace as a draw 1 per turn until he can find a tutor for a console piece or something of the sort. Just because, like, Jace is going to be, like, the one card on this board that produces value.
Right.
Because everybody else is, like, Tymna's and whatever else are shut off. So I think he probably just wanted to go, like, cast Tymna, cast Thrasios, find a blue source, play Jace, and then just start ripping cards every turn until you can find your win con. I think it's a mistake to try to fire off a Nature's Claim before you're in, like, dominant board position.
Seems reasonable to me. And I think that sounds kind of, based on the table talk, is somewhat what he's considering, because it seems like he's just kind of taking his time with that Nature's Claim and kind of letting the rest of the board be sad as well.
Yeah,
Gaia's Cradle from...
pretty nice.
That is going to do work. It doesn't get him the blue, but it makes him some mana.
It does get him to Tymna plus Thrasios in 1 turn, which is actually a pretty big deal, honestly. I mean, obviously you'd be drawing Phoenix cards from doing that, but honestly, this might be because I'm the greediest person on the planet, but I think that's worth it.
Black and a white and 2 from the Gaia's Cradle. Sounds like he's playing the 1, and there comes a Tymna.
Okay, so this is definitely the safer play. I respect it.
This is not what Spleenface would have done, however. You would have fed the Rhystic Study.
Not what Sickrobot would have done.
Oh, excuse me. That's
absolutely what Morgan would have done. That's fine. This is 100% what Morgan would have done. And honestly, if I had done anything else, I fully expect that Morgan would be screaming in my ear about it.
That's so unlike
sort
him.
of surprised that Eliot didn't hold up a green here, which sort of implies to me, knowing that he has the Nature's Claim, that he potentially has interaction that's not Nature's Claim.
Right.
Is interesting.
Gaia's Cradle's making 3. Gaia's Cradle in this board state seems fine. I mean, it's fine regardless, but it seems quite good right now because it's at the very least Valakut Exploration. Interesting.
What a card.
That is going to probably do some work.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly another way to generate cards through a humility.
And for people who are unfamiliar with that card, whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card of your library, and you may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. At the beginning of your end step, if there are cards exiled this way, put them into their owner's graveyard. Then it deals that much. Valakut Exploration deals that much damage to each opponent, which is really good.
In a board locked position, yeah, I'd say so. Honestly, I'm not even sure you cast the carpet here. I feel like there's like a very real chance that you just go for the Valakut exploration burnout and just start fetching like a madman and generating damage.
That certainly seems like it could be a way of landfall trigger, luxury suite, which he can't play, so he'll get at least one off of this. Looks like he is going to be playing a carpet.
Aw. I'm sad that we don't get to see the burnout.
This is not a Sickrobot approved play.
No, it's the right play. It's just not the most hilarious / quote unquote best play.
So let's
best
see.
meeting generates the most content.
Generates the most content. That's what we're all about here. We're just about the clicks. That's all. Let's see here. Chris is going to be swinging into Phoenix, because why not? And Phoenix's life total is looking like a normal 60-card life total.
And he's facing a lot more where that's coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Stone Coral Serpent's going to be putting in a lot of work getting damage in on Phoenix, I feel like.
Yeah, and it's going to deal 1 damage to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a card we saw in some of those decks that Cobblepott, Phoenix, and Spleen did make over on our podcast episode. You should go check that out. It is Kodama, Vile Smasher, some really interesting lists there.
Definitely
Phoenix,
great with Kodama combo.
Oh, absolutely. Lots of fun stuff to do here. Preordain from Phoenix, so presumably he did not find a land off the top.
Yeah, I would assume so. This is looking pretty grim, honestly. I am happy that we saw a humility on turn 3. That being said, honestly, it might not have actually been that great without the backup of like having creatures in play.
Right. He is passing the turn, missed the land drop.
Yeah.
He can survive the turn cycle, which is good. However, I don't think he makes it through 2 turn cycles.
I don't think so, especially with the Thrasios coming down. And presumably a Kodama coming down as well, which adds 2 more to the clock.
Ristic study for Cobblepott.
Ristic study from Cobble, all right.
So now...
So Cobble definitely jockeying for position.
Yep. And let's see what Chris has a response. He is going to red elemental blast the Ristic study.
Yes, it's certainly reasonable in my opinion.
He said Phoenix is going to be dead soon and Cobblepot isn't. That is why.
Definitely reasonable. And yeah, that's honestly just Cobble jockeying.
Yeah.
As everybody else at this table is. Just trying to like have the most stuff in play when humility goes away so you can capitalize.
And the Cobblepot attacks are going at... I missed who they're going at. Presumably they're going at Phoenix.
I would assume so. Oh, we're seeing response.
Swords to Plowshares on the Stone Coil Serpent.
Never thought we'd see that, honestly. In this format. I'd like to Swords to Plowshares your vanilla 3/3. Thank you very much.
That is called a bad time.
Certainly not the best time. I'll give you that.
So
interesting to me that Cobble honestly didn't, just going back on that turn for a second, didn't neglect to pay for the Ristic study and then also jam a Hull Breacher just to have it in play. Again, like I sort of along the same lines of like just letting Phoenix draw cards because he's going to be dead anyway. I definitely feel like you might just be correct to just greed out and try to dump your hand.
Gaia's Cradle is making 3 here. Let's see what Eliot...
It's unmaking 3 here. Is it going to remake 3 here?
I will see.
Ooh, maybe it'll make 4 here.
He is going to combat. Swinging 3 at Phoenix.
Yep.
Which has been the theme of the game so far.
That is certainly in line with the table's game plan. Can't blame him for that one.
Playing Thrasios, and he's paying the 1, which seems reasonable. If you got Gaia's Cradle mana to use, you might as well use it, right?
Yep. Definitely agree. Sort of sucks that he's not finding any other lands either, especially not any blue sources, because
right.
Would be real nice here. But especially with the Stonecoral Serpent gone, that was sort of like the one wrench in that plan, where like the Stonecoral Serpent could just like swing through your entire board, and you'd have to like chump with everything, and then presumably Chris could clear the Jace if he wanted to. Now that the Stonecoral's gone, like the Jace is pretty much just gonna stick forever if you want it to. So it really hurts to not be drawing blue sources now, specifically.
Bajuka Bog is coming down, so there's a Valka Exploration trigger, but it looks like he's stacking it to hit the Bajuka Bog trigger first. And it's hitting Cobblepot's graveyard.
Okay. Reasonable.
Yeah, that is hitting Cobblepot's graveyard.
Yeah, just not giving anybody any information before.
Ooh.
That is a good one.
Assassin's Trophy.
That being said, it really sucks to hit that now because...
You want that in your hand.
Like, you really want that in your hand, and you don't want that to go away at end of turn, and you also don't want to cast it right now, which sort of sucks. Potentially, you could just point this at the Ristic Study, but, like, you really want that Humility gone. I'm just not sure that you could afford to point it there.
He's going to
Especially
combat.
not with Mr. Thrasios with a board full of creatures in a Gaia's Cradle sitting
right.
around over there. Who's almost certainly going to do better without the Humility in play than you are in the grind game.
He doesn't want to blow up the Humility just yet, it sounds like. So it sounds like he might just let this Assassin's Trophy just drain. But he's getting 3 black off of the Carpet of Flowers.
I'd assume you're going to point this at least at like a Gaia's Cradle or a Ristic Study.
Grafdigger's Cage.
Interesting.
And he is paying the 1.
So I'm not even really sure what we're worried about the Grafdigger's Cage for. I'm pretty sure the deck's game plan is pretty insulated from that hate piece unless I'm missing something.
I believe he might have a Court of Calling in hand. The only card we are aware of, the only card we know that he has in his hand right now is Wooded Foothills.
Yeah, so we definitely could have either a Finale or a Court of Calling. And then the only other thing I think that's affected is Reanimate, but that wouldn't really be doing much here. I guess there's Animate Dead as
6 mana, playing Kodama.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And he did pay the 1 for the Ristic Study. And Phoenix is dead to rights over there at 11. Let's see if he draws any mana. He got a Swamp.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, he can play cards now.
He made it. He got there.
Let's see what he's doing here.
Chris
3 mana.
Just sack his entire board and kill Phoenix at almost any time. Oh, there's a Lab Man.
All right. Feels kind of bad. Everybody's laughing at the moment, it sounds like, in the game chat. Interesting.
definitely could consult in response to a Ristic Study trigger. Not sure if that would be super great in the current position, considering you would die, but, it's definitely a play that you could make.
That is indeed something you can do. And I'm pretty sure this is a lab man that is coming out to just get in front of something.
I would guess so. I wouldn't be surprised if this just goes in front of Kodama if that swings, or just one of the Timnas.
Yeah.
But you're mostly dead either way. The issue here is, you're taking a lot of damage, and even if you're not dead this turn cycle, you're under the thumb of the Goblin Bombardment from Chris, so you can just die at any time you try to do anything relevant,
Right.
which is not a super great place to be.
I would generally agree with that sentiment, I think. So let's see here what Cobblepott does. Now, Cobblepot's been taking a lot of damage off of that Mana Crypt. He's taken, I believe, 12 damage off of his Mana Crypt this game.
So you might be able to recoup some of that cost if you can, once the humility goes with 2 Timnas, but you're actually more likely just be losing more life than you're gaining off of those at a certain point. Yeah, I think I would. God, this is rough. We don't know a lot of what's in his hand. We know he has a Hull Breacher, and that's about it, I think. But I think I'm sort of a fan of just jamming at the Sakashima here and not showing the Hull Breacher, especially if you chose not to cast it last turn.
We will see how this goes. Let's see what he's doing. Playing a snow-covered swamp, excuse me. Looks like he is considering his mana options. And Praetor's Grasp. Targeting Phoenix.
That is interesting. I wonder what this is getting, because knowing the fact that Phoenix is very likely to die pretty soon, this should probably be a card that you can cast fairly quickly, because otherwise there's a real chance that you just sort of lose access to it when Phoenix dies.
Right.
So I'm interested in what this is going for.
Well, he is currently looking at the list, so we will see.
It could be like a wheel, and then stick the Hull Breacher in end step. Hope that Phoenix doesn't die, and then remove the humility and wheel. This doesn't really line up. I'm not sure. It definitely could just be an add-on.
Let's see.
Well.
What is he getting here? It is Secret Naz is what it is. It's an ad Naz.
Yeah, so it is an ad Naz. All right. I mean, it's pretty good just because you can LED out the ad Naz on end step without discarding the ad Naz, which is pretty neat. The upsides of a Praetor's Grasp. That being said, you still sort of have a heck of a time actually trying to win post-Naz with humility in play.
Right. Well, let's see how this all goes. He has the Adnaz. He's not doing anything with it. And he's passing the turn. Looks like Eliot has some stuff to do there on the end step. Brainstorm on end step, paying for the Ristic Study. They are talking things over as he does the brainstorm. So we will see what goes on here. Putting those two cards back on top. Now, Eliot's probably gotten quite a bit of mana here. Or, excuse me, cards here over the past few turns. He's just been kind of sitting on stuff, casting things out of the command zone.
Also has has the last blue source needed, which is really nice.
So let's see what we get out of here. The Adnaz represented over there is a little spooky, as Pongo would say.
Bit spoopy. Small amount spoopy. So if you're, you really want to, if you're not Cobblepot, you're not Phoenix, you actually really want to pressure Phoenix to get him dead. But the issue is that if you can't get him all the way dead, then your attacks are actually better going at Cobble instead, because you really want him at a low enough life total that, like, the Nas is ineffective.
So it's Smothering Tithe here from Eliot.
It's pretty hard to place your attacks here, because honestly, like, I think if I was in Eliot or Chris's seat, I'd heavily consider target switching to Cobble with attacks here.
Moving to combat. Let's see where Eliot goes. They're discussing how if they both attack Phoenix for 4, they don't die. But he is coming at Phoenix with the Llanowar elves and the elves of Deep Shadow. Passing the turn.
So I guess you want to keep, if you can't kill Phoenix this turn cycle, you want to keep Phoenix in a place where, like, he can't die to Cobblepot's attacks, but he can die to the Goblin Bombardment, so that you can kill him if he becomes a problem, but you need him around to hold down Cobble post Nas, so that he, like, has to spend removal on the Humility in order to win with Oracle.
Right. And he did pay the 2 for the Smothering Tithe.
How rude.
Chris is playing through all the stuff. And he is playing an Overgrown Tomb tapped. Dark Confidant off the Valka Exploration trigger.
Certainly not great in the current point in the game, but it does deal 1 to everybody if you don't want to cast it, so that's an upside.
Let's see here what they are getting here, what he's going to do. Vile Smatcher and Deathrite Shaman are coming at, did I hear that correctly, at Phoenix? Correct, yes.
I think so.
Lab Maniac, Inferno, Vile Smasher.
That's interesting. Okay, so I think you just let this Bob go away. Ping Cobble for the 1.
And 3 black off the Carpet of Flowers. Sounds like he does not want to recast the Vile Smasher.
You know what? Reasonable. Very reasonable if you have a better access.
He is going to cast the Dark Confidant, however.
That's interesting. I'm assuming now you recast the Vile. Maybe. Potentially.
Interesting. Well, we're going back over to
Or
Phoenix.
Not. Passes it back. All right.
Yeah.
Can Phoenix
treasure
himself
token
from the current position is the question.
I'm not sure that he can. I mean, he might. He's been drawing cards per turn. He hasn't really gotten very many off of the Rhystic Study.
He's been drawing card per turn.
Right. We know he has Eldishnorn in hand. That doesn't do much. Sea of Clouds.
Yeah. So this is a Tevesh, yeah.
That certainly helps stop some of the bleeding.
It makes blockers. And it makes more blockers over turn than presumably the rest of the table is putting into play, so...
We are thinking from Cobblepott whether or not he wants that to resolve.
I mean, he certainly doesn't want it to resolve, but I'm not sure you have a choice. Yeah, Nas.
And Nas in response, Cabal Ritual and Hull Breacher discarded.
So, potentially Eliot has interaction here, actually, from earlier in the game when he left a blue up instead of a green.
Right. And he is paying for the Rhystic Study, which puts him at 28 life. I'm not sure if he's caught that or not.
So this is sort of why I was in favor of target switching to Cobble on this last round of attacks, just because I feel he really want him to, like, you really want to get him to a lower effectual life total for this.
And it looks like Eliot is passing on this. Chris is also passing on this. And I'm presuming Phoenix has nothing. So the secret Nas is going to be going off. Chain of Vapor. Yeah.
Fine start.
Get Probe. All right. Hollowed Fountain. That is Bloodstained Mire. Arcane Signet. That one hurts a little bit, but some mana. Ghostly Pilferer. Scroll Rack.
Scroll Rack might be good.
Sea of Clouds. Time Twister is not bad. Mox Opal.
Not great.
Demonic Consultation.
There's the Consult. So you're looking really... So you already have the bounce spell for the Humility, which also happens to be a Mana Rock doubler. Very nice. Now you're just looking for an Oracle. Silence, that's nice as insurance.
And he's getting a lot of fast mana on this.
Yeah. You really want a tutor here, though. That will
There is a diabolic intent. That might be what seals this right here.
That, yeah, very well could finish this up.
Are we going to see Cobblepott go 3-0 with this Sakashima Timna list? Wow.
I mean, keep in mind that Phoenix does have a Rhystic Study in play, and Cobble probably isn't going to be paying for a lot of that. The Rhystic Study, that being said, still pretty nuts. He has pretty much everything that he needs to win. He has the fast mana to get up to the mana required. He has the Consult. He has the removal spell. He has the tutor for the Oracle. So,
and he does have a Force of Negation in hand as well.
Yes. Gonna be hard to hardcast that one, but we'll see if he can get up to that mana.
I think he had the blue mana, or another blue card, I believe. If he sits on the Get Probe, he should be able to use that.
It is only on opponent's turns that you can alt cast.
Oh, I guess that is true.
So
you are correct. And he keeps getting hit by that mana crypt. He's at 3 life, and that is rough.
It was already now or never, but now it is truly just make or break. You gotta go for the win this turn.
2 treasures over there from Eliot.
Sort of funny here is that Phoenix will be drawing a bunch of cards off this win attempt, but also in a critical position. If Cobble casts the game-winning spell, after Eliot has made a bunch of treasures, there's a very real chance that Eliot casts the Nature's Claim, targeting the Rhystic Study, or targeting the Humility rather, to open up his Thrasios and then start activating Thrasios.
We are forgetting something that's on the board. There is a Goblin Bombardment that can kill Cobblepott in response to anything. And I think Phoenix is pointing this out to the table right now. And he is pointing out that it is in his favor to advise them to not lose.
Yeah, it was actually an incredibly unlucky crypt roll, actually. Because it means that, Cobble, actually just can't go for a win now.
Wow. And that puts him in shooting distance of everybody. That might be...
Yeah, so, I mean, it puts him immediately dead to Eliot on board as well, which is a huge issue, because that means that Eliot can kill Cobble, who's the only person who realistically has, like, meaningful interaction for the Jace combo, and then he can then Nature's Claim the Humility and attempt to go for a win, especially with all the extra mana he has lying around.
Right. Let's
So
see how this goes.
Cobble has to somehow stay alive here through Eliot's turn, or else there's a very real chance that he will just lose to Jace Consult shenanigans. Assuming that Eliot has access to the Consult in some form or another.
Well, he's been drawing some amount of cards. I'm not exactly sure how many. He did Brainstorm, and he is generating mana with the Smothering Tithe.
Yeah.
And he is a Nature's Claim away from being in control.
Yes. I think I'm definitely in favor of, like, once Cobble's dead, removing the Humility, because you're certainly in the best position with a Thrasios and a Tymna in play, and a bunch of excess mana. So even if you're not, like, able to win that exact turn, I think this is still the point at which I'm happy with getting rid of the Humility. As long as Cobble is dead, of course.
Cobble is casting Chain of Vapor, targeting Goblin Bombardment.
Interesting. So you're sort of forced to go for it here, because if you don't get this out of play right now, then you're, like, absolutely dead. And if Chris for some reason lets this go, then you do have, like, a chance of life.
And this is feeding Eliot, who is getting more mana, which makes him significantly more dangerous as this continues.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this immediately gets Cobble killed, but it is something you have to go for. Unfortunately enough.
They're discussing the cards that were in his hand. And he is gonna be killing Cobblepott, it sounds like, in response.
Yeah. Unfortunately, sort of saw this one coming, but, yeah. Again, there's not much you can do from Cobble's side there. You just sort of have to point a removal spell at the thing that's keeping you from winning and hope that you don't die.
Sacrificing the Kodama. Interesting. So let's see what happens now.
Chance that he has a dark side or something of the sort, to abuse the Humor Sabertooth with.
He might. Well, the only card we know that is left in his hand is a Wooded Foothills. And it sounds like Cobble is just dead.
Yeah.
That was a very unfortunate mana crypt roll. That is what did it there.
Yep.
So we have now seen somebody die to mana crypt effectively in one of our gameplay videos.
Yeah.
So he is now eliminated from the game. So we'll see kind of what goes on here. So Eliot has an end step that he can interact here. So they're kind of discussing how dying works.
Yes. Things tend to just go away, and you proceed through the rest of that player's turn, which is fun. That means that Eliot has a chance to Nature's Claim the Humility before his turn, before he untaps, but while Cobble is still dead.
He is flashing in an opposition agent.
He's not Nature's Claiming immediately, he's casting opposition agent. That's fun. Not paying either, interesting. Yeah. And here comes H.
Making a treasure.
Man. And it paid for itself. Interesting. Doesn't go for it. I guess you're sacking a treasure for it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Might as well do it on your turn when you have the extra card for potential protection. Yeah, I mean, if you have any access at all to, like, any tutor, you're pretty much locked in for a win here, I think.
He has the mana to do what he needs to do, for sure.
Yeah.
Because especially if he removes the humility, we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 7. Right? No. Yeah, 7, 6, so 8, 9, 10. So it looks like, what is that? 13 mana he has at his expo. Once the Nature's Claim goes off.
Yeah.
3 blue, using one of the green, and 1 for the Ristic Study, casting the Jace. There is a possibility he may just have Demonic Consultation in hand.
Definitely could.
No responses from the table. So he is going to uptick Jace, I believe.
Sounds probably pretty accurate.
And Tainted Pact.
Yep.
So he just has it.
I mean, if this isn't getting countered, then I don't know what anybody actually has that stops this. Maybe exactly the Pyroblast from Chris. I don't think Phoenix has anything if this doesn't get
Fire
countered.
Covenant.
Okay. So we're just trying to draw Phoenix into pretendable Force of Will here.
Force of Will or Fierce Guardianship would get there, right?
I think Pact Negation also, potentially. But yeah. I mean, it's slim pickings.
We are generating a mana for Smothering Tithe, unfortunately, but
Yeah,
I don't know that matters.
There's also a Force of Negation from Phoenix. Yeah, so no Fierce Guardianship, but a Force of Negation. But it looks like Tainted Pact resolving.
Well, we're drawing the card from Phoenix first. And I think that is resolving.
Yeah. Gets everything. Might as
Tainted
well.
Pact passes priority. Phoenix
If I'm gonna
has
die, I'm taking
nothing.
your creatures with me.
He drew the Force of Will, but doesn't have a blue card in hand.
The classic.
That is quite unfortunate.
Incredibly tragic. See the Death Red Shaman get taken.
Wow.
And yeah.
Wow. Well, it looks like Eliot is gonna win here. And that is the game. So that is basically where you're at there with this game. So what is the turning point there for you, Spleen, that you really think, or excuse me, Sickrobot? I do that to both of you guys when it's Morgan. I call him Sick. I don't know why. But anyway, Sick, what is it exactly that was the turning point here in this game?
I mean, quite honestly, it was Cobblepot losing the crypt roll. I'm pretty sure he gets there without it. He has all of the stuff available to him, like all of the mana required, the tutor, the consult. Like, he's pretty much just good to go on it, and losing that life really, put him out. The only reason why you really couldn't get rid of the humility there was because Cobblepot had a very real chance of, like, exploding into a win before you could do anything about it as Eliot.
Right.
So even though Eliot was in the better board position, he really didn't feel comfortable removing the humility until it was like guaranteed that Cobblepot wasn't in the game anymore.
Right.
And attacking him to death is, or at least shooting him to death anyway, is certainly a way to guarantee that. So that pretty much locked up. And especially with Fenix being tapped out there, you're more than happy to attempt to go for it.
Right. Well, it certainly seemed like Eliot was fine with the humility, because it seems like he just had what he needed, especially with the Smothering Tithe, to just win through it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Smothering Tithe was honestly icing on the cake. But the real root of that comeback / win through adversity was the Jace there. Just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's great to have.
Yeah. Well, that about wraps things up for us here today. Just a quick reminder that you can follow us on Twitter at SculptyBoys. You can also follow Into the North at, what is your Twitter handle there?
Is it Into the North Pod?
Into the North Pod. That is our, I don't know that we're sister podcasts or what, but we're certainly
something like that.
We're related in some form or fashion.
First cousins.
Yeah. So you can go follow us on Twitter, or you can find a direct link to our Twitter down below in our link tree in the description. Want to also give an extra thanks to all of our patrons, who help keep the lights on. If you too would like to become a patron, you can head on over to patreon.com/themindSculptors, or check out the link in the description for more information. Thank you again for joining us, Sick. It's great to have you back in the booth. Was definitely a fun game, to say the least. Humility coming out on turn 3 is interesting, to say the least.
It's great to see. I don't care if Fenix didn't win. I just wanted to see the humility come down.
Somehow he wasn't the first one to die. Yeah. I really thought it would have gone out first, but here we are. But again, thank you, Sick, for joining me today, and thank you, the listeners and the viewers, for joining us. For all of us here at the Mind Sculptors, I'm Callahan. He's Sickrobot. See you next time.